Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Eric Graham here with you today. So I'm just going to begin by framing the issue. You know, a lot of times you'll hear the Democrats call Donald Trump fascist and Republicans fascists. And, it's just, the Democrats are constantly pulling from the propaganda playbook projection, which is a very powerful tool in the art of propaganda. And so the Democrats are, just hypocrites who are themselves fascists, and they call Donald Trump and Republicans fascists. The United States is a fascist, authoritarian oligarchy. It's not a democracy. That's been proven. I've covered that. Please watch my previous shows. The Princeton study. There's no democracy in the United States. So I'm just going to point out, the proxy war against Russia using Ukraine. Please watch my last show. I discussed that. Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, all these sociopathic, corrupt politicians who are encouraging, promoting how great it is that they want Ukrainians to fight until the very last Ukrainian. So there's already about 600,000 Ukrainian young men that are dead now. So probably about 1 million to 1,200,000 total dead or wounded. So I'm just going to point out to you that the Democrats are supporting fascism in Ukraine. And what I'm framing the issue here by showing you that before, just a few years ago, all the way to 10 years ago, I'm going to show you people in the media, they were discussing how there's a big Nazi problem in Ukraine, and then all of a sudden, in 2014, when the Democrats started this fraud where they overthrew the democratically elected president of Ukraine, they did a coup, Victoria Nuland. Please watch my last show. So, the point is that yes, it was a fact that it is a fact, and it was always a fact, and it still is a fact that there's a lot of Nazis in Ukraine, and Nazis control Ukraine. And then the Democrats would try to say that, oh, Zelensky, he's Jewish. How could there be a Nazi problem in Ukraine when they have a Jewish president? Yeah, there's a Jewish president in Ukraine who's working with Nazis. He could be killed by Nazis. He's the president, but he could easily be he's been threatened by Nazis that if he doesn't make certain decisions that they want, that he will be killed. So yes, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Victoria Nuland, Jake Sullivan, Anthony Blinken, they did this coup. They are working with Nazis to use Ukraine to attack and be a problem for Russia. This is a United States policy that is well documented for a long time now. The United States has intentions of working with Europe in order to break up Russia, to overthrow Putin, destroy Russian culture, break Russia up and to make it into different countries, different parts, so that the United States can control their resources, because Russia is a huge country with vast amounts of resources, and the US wants to control it. So yes, there's a Nazi problem in Ukraine, and there always has been.
One of these volunteer battalions was called the Azov Battalion. A significant fraction of Azov's membership came from a group called Patriot of Ukraine, a self-described revolutionary nationalist organisation led by a guy called Andriy Beletsky. Beletsky is a pretty unsavoury bloke. Back in 2010, he allegedly said that his mission was to lead the white races of the world in a final crusade against Semite-led.
So you see these extreme viewpoints here, and this is who the corrupt, hypocritical Democrats are working with here to do their proxy war against Russia. They're working with Nazis, neo-Nazis, they're Nazis, whatever you want to call them. Nazis, right-wing, nationalists.
Untermenschen, which is German for subhumans. Azov's logo is a combination of the wolf angel and a black sun, symbols both used by the German Nazis. Anyway, Azov were and
So it just struck me, the hypocrisy of the Democrats. They're working with Nazis in Ukraine, and they're supporting Jewish people in a genocide against Palestinians. It's just so evil and bizarre. And Germany is supporting all this, and it's just so awful. It's just so bizarre. The Holocaust was done by the Germans, but Germans are working with the United States to support neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And at the same time, they're working with Jewish people in Israel who were the victims of the Holocaust to do a new Holocaust against the Palestinians. It's so sick and twisted and evil.
are a remarkably effective fighting force. They helped Ukrainian forces retake Mariupol in June 2014 and gained a reputation for brutality amongst Ukrainian and Russian-backed separatists. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights.
So I'm just framing the issue. It's so obvious. The problem is that a lot of people are, especially citizens of the United States, are ignorant. I'm not insulting anyone. I'm just telling the truth. They are ignorant. They're the most propagandized people on the face of the earth. So they're just never told the truth by their government, and they're always being exploited. Their taxpayers and their money is being stolen from them in order to not help them. Their money is being stolen from them in order to generate profits for the wealthy, doing evil things around the world, and in the process making U.S. citizens less safe and having a lower declining quality of life.
Сьогодні Росія намагається віджимати свої дітка. Суспільство божеволює від наставки, хворих, злочинів, відчіпали до тебе генерації та сепаратизму. Наші ворог намагається зруйнувати здорову, європейську культуру і історію. Звідки беруть коріння наші предки, воїни. Ми, українські і націоналісти, попереджені. Ми не дозволимо розповсюджуватися цієї поклині на нашій землі. Ми допоможемо нашим соратникам та ідейним братам в світовій боротьбі. Ми готові! Слава Україні! Героям слава!
And so, like I'm explaining to you, some of these things that I'm showing you here are 2 years old all the way to 10 years old. Just to, as I said, frame the issue that the Democrats are fascists, Nazi supporters, and hypocrites. And they've been, sometimes they claim that, I've heard of, they use the Hollywood celebrities to do propaganda. As I showed you in my last show, Ben Stiller went and hung out with Zelensky. Sean Penn also did. I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger say There are no Nazis in Ukraine. There are no Nazis in Ukraine. That's my Arnold impression. But anyway, he actually said that. So they do propaganda for the Pentagon and the CIA. Neo-Nazi threat in New Ukraine. So this problem has existed and still exists in the United States. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they're working with Nazis. And you know they're working with Nazis. And these Nazis, they were attacking and bombing Russian-speaking citizens inside Ukraine. So they were, uh, yeah, that was the reason why Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, was forced to do this special military operation because of the constant harassment, lies, deception, provocation of the United States. Please watch my last show. The United States promised after World War II, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, there was not supposed to be any more encroachment closer and closer to the Russian border by NATO. And the neo-Nazis, the Nazis in Ukraine, were murdering Russian-speaking people in the Donbass region. And so this special military operation was to save those people, to reclaim that territory, put it under Russian control, and to end the Nazi problem in Ukraine. And Ukraine traditionally was a part of Russia anyway, so that's a longer history. But the point is, Vladimir Putin is a thoughtful, intelligent man. He's done this special military operation with the consideration of maintaining minimal numbers of people dead and wounded. But remember, there was a ceasefire agreement that was ready to be signed. It was initialed, and the United States ended it. Zelensky and Putin, they had reached an agreement. They sent in, the United States sent in Boris Johnson, the former president of England, prime minister of, and Boris Johnson was sent in, and he crushed, canceled, stopped Zelensky from continuing the negotiations. So the United States wanted this, and this is a United States war against Russia. Using Nazis.
Sports at a festival for far-right extremists. This was the summer of 2019, and I'd gone to Ukraine to learn more about these groups. From the crowds, one thing seemed pretty clear about them. They weren't bothered by the fact that this event was organized by the Azov movement, a far-right group that has increasingly been linked to violence around the world.
The shooter is linked to a 74-page manifesto filled with white supremacist rhetoric.
FBI agents say he expressed a desire to travel to Ukraine to fight with a far-right paramilitary group.
At least one member of an American hate group also trained in Ukraine, with Azov Battalion.
According to the FBI, domestic terrorists killed 39 people in fiscal year 2019,
So now that I've framed the issue and given it a little bit of context and perspective, you know, it is the Democrats, and it's especially hypocritical the way that they call Donald Trump a Nazi, and they're constantly calling Republicans Nazis, and then, you know, claiming they're right-wing Nazis, and Donald Trump is a Nazi. So it's just very hypocritical because the Democrats are Nazis. And I'll tell you, you know, real quick, I'll just, you know, give you a few examples. The Democrats are the ones that are using big tech, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, okay, to do censorship. Okay, so the government controlling, using corporations in order to put its policies into effect. That's fascism. So that's what the Democrats are, fascists, using big tech in order to censor people and violate people's constitutional rights. That's fascism. So this is comedy. So, you know, I've started some of my shows in the beginning with the, you know, Kamala comedy hour, you know, because she's such a joke. So, I believe I believe in mixing in a little bit of, you know, comedy, you know, here and there, you know, in my shows, because, you know, you have to laugh, because these things are so sad. You know, if you don't laugh, you know, you'll go crazy. And, you know, we're fortunate to have, you know, the technology, and we've been able to watch, you know, this genocide in the Middle East, you know, the genocide of the Palestinians by the United States and Israel, murdering babies and dropping bombs on children and decapitations and mutilations. It's just so horrible. So anyway, I do use a little bit of humor here and there. So now, you know, another thing about, you know, so I'm framing the issue here. I talked about, you know, how I'm showing you how the Democrats are actually the fascists, and also encouraging violence. That's another trait of the Democrats' hypocrisy. They encourage violence in protests. They encourage violence when the Supreme Court was deliberating on the abortion issue, and the Democrats, including the top Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. I should have loaded the clip of that to show you, but you could look on your own. Chuck Schumer inciting violence against the Supreme Court judges if they did not vote the way that the Democrats wanted them to. So here's some Democrats fascists.
Mein Führer, wir haben noch keine Meldung. Ich spreche gerade mit Kamala. Kamala, geben Sie mir Kamala. Kamala.
Like, what do you want to know?
She's such a clown. She's such a clown. Please watch my previous shows. I've also talked about how she's incompetent, in over her head, and this laughter is due to insecurity. And I also believe that she's compensating for her lack of ability and intelligence, and she's in over her head. She's compensating by pill popping and drinking on the job. So all of the nonsensical constant laughter is a result of these things.
Well, let's start with this.
Hören Sie den Beschuss nicht?
Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs
What a genius!
more, and we have to understand what that means. Are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up.
Ooh.
That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's
Okay. So what is your solution? This is what Democrats do. These fake hypocritical pieces of they'll list the problem and not have any solutions. They're just describing the problem and faking empathy, like they care. But she's doing a terrible job at it. She's just describing the problem that they have created. She's created this problem with Biden, and they have no solutions for the problem that they've created. They're just describing to you that there's a problem.
That's cost more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously. Very seriously.
And you take it so seriously, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Nothing. Nothing.
That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously. Very seriously. We must together, work together, to see where we are headed, where we are going, and our vision for where we should be, but also see it as a moment, yes, to together address the challenges. We have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen.
Wow. This lady is a damn fool. She's a drunken, pathetic, blathering idiot. And she word salads, pablum, platitudes, nothing of any substance.
Well, I think culture is, it is be unburdened by what has been.
And this is brilliant here, this piece put together by Hitler Rants Parodies. This is fantastic.
And then to make the possible actually happen. Well, I think culture is, it is a reflection of our moment and our time. Right. And present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy. Because, you know.
Oh, God, she's so sickening. And remember, this is why she lost so terribly when she was running for president. Nobody was supporting her. She got no votes. She got destroyed in the debate by Tulsi Gabbard. And she's just being forced onto the people and in the media. Please watch my previous shows about the joy propaganda. She just said joy, and that jackass Joy Ann Reid on MSNBC. Please watch my last show about the joy propaganda.
Present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because you know, it comes in the morning.
What?
We have to find ways to also express
it comes in the morning.
Way we feel about the moment in terms of just having language and a connection to how people are experiencing life. And I think about it in that way too. We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Whoa. Okay, wait. I gotta go back. Let's do that one again.
People are experiencing life, and I think about it in that way too. We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
What? Ich habe mich klar genug ausgedrückt. Ich bin das letzte Bollwerk gegen diese Gefahr.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right?
Von allem Anfang an bin ich so verraten und betrogen worden. Es wurde ein ungeheurer Verrat geübt am deutschen Volke.
Kamala Harris.
Therefore, up here in this cloud that
she's like a kindergartner. Excuse me. Her level of intellect is like, but this is why these people are in the positions of power that they are in, is because they're willing to serve the empire. That's the reason why they're there. They're not there because of their brilliance or their intellectual abilities. They're there because she's corrupt and she's willing to serve the empire. She's like
we all
watching her explain things. Her like I said, her grasp, her level of intellect.
Watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Ich habe mich klar genug ausgedrückt. Ich bin das letzte Bollwerk gegen diese Gefahr.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud.
It's then therefore up here in this cloud. Come on, man. How old are you? What are you?
That exist above us, right?
Von allem Anfang an bin ich so verraten und betrogen worden. Es wurde ein ungeheurer Verrat geübt am deutschen Volke.
The United States has to be consistent. There were times when we were more engaged and we saw good results. Less engaged, and we can see where the work and the partnerships then deteriorate. So I am committed to ensuring that we engage in an active way on the root causes, on addressing the cause and effect, and also being partners in the Western Hemisphere, understanding that we have a responsibility, and if we ignore that responsibility, it will visit it.
Oh, God. It's like pulling teeth. It's like listening to Kamala Harris is like pulling teeth or any other painful procedure you can think of. Listening to her could also be compared to shoveling horse shit or cleaning toilets or being forced to eat lima beans. Anybody ever go through that when you were a kid? My dad forced me to eat, like black-eyed peas and lima beans. Yeah. But anyway, you see the guy standing behind her there? That's the Mayorkas. So remember, Kamala Harris is the border czar, and that dude is the immigration guy. But anyway, he's a piece of crap. And together, they have this open border policy, which is screwing American workers because the Democrats, please watch my previous show, they need to replace your votes because people are not voting for Democrats like they used to. So they need to replace those votes with new voters. So illegal immigrants will serve just fine. And illegal immigrants are used to lower the wages of American workers because they're willing to work for less.
Itself upon us in a very domestic way. A movement that has always been about the ability to see what can be unburdened by what has been. We are demonstrating that when we have leadership in the highest offices in the land, including in the White House, who believe in what we can do, and then when we push to make it so, it allows other people who perhaps before couldn't imagine it to now see how it works, and we are building then the movement in such a substantial way in terms of those who are coming into the rooms to be a part of what we know is in the best interest of obviously our country, but our world. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Das ist unerhört. Unerhört. Der Russe steckt 12 Kilometer vom Stadtkern. Und ich erfahre das sozusagen auf Nachfrage.
Mein Führer, vielleicht handelt es sich ja wirklich um Fernfeuer. Sie erwähnten eine Eisenbahnbrücke über die Oder.
Ach, Unsinn.
That was funny. That was hilarious.
Der Russe steckt 12 Kilometer vom Stadtkern. Und ich erfahre das sozusagen auf Nachfrage.
Mein Führer, vielleicht handelt es sich ja wirklich um Fernfeuer. Sie erwähnten eine Eisenbahnbrücke über die Oder.
Ach, Unsinn.
So there it is. And another thing is that as far as the Democrats being fascists, another example is the lawfare that they're doing against Donald Trump, the way that they use the Department of Justice and the machinations of the law of the U.S. government bureaucracy in order to harass and attempt to prevent their political rival from running against them. That's not democracy. That's fascism. To demonize Donald Trump and use the Department of Justice in order to create these lawsuits against Trump, to prosecute him based on bullshit, just create new laws and stuff in order to prosecute Donald Trump. And also another fascist element about the Democrats is the way that they attack those who don't agree with them. There's no debate, there's no discussion, just smears and insults are their standard operating procedure to deal with criticism. They're not going to stand upon policies in order to defend themselves. They're going to change the subject, denial, and like I said, smears and insults. And like I said, they use projection, calling Trump and Republicans fascists. So they are like a cult. These Democrats are a very dangerous, hypocritical cult. And so you see here, at the Democrats' national convention that took place, just a disgusting display of hypocrites. These Democrats, they have no, they don't stand for anything. Like I said, they never debate or bring up policies. It's always it's about the DEI. It's about gender and sexual preference and it's a psychological operation, because the Democrats, they have, like I said, please watch my last show, Kamala Harris. She has no policy platform. It's just all surface level cultural issues. So
did you see this video here? I'll show you guys this video. Ken, I'm sure you've seen this.
At the Democrats' national convention, there were people outside of the convention, and they are protesting the people attending the convention because they're people who are anti-genocide. And so their responses are these childish behaviors that you're about to see here. As these people, there's a woman who's outside, there's protesters outside of the Democratic National Convention who's reading a list of the names of the dead children that have been murdered by the United States and Israel in this genocide against the Palestinians. So watch them here.
I also want to hear the dead names of women and children. Say it again. And this guy, real scumbag right here.
Mock them again.
Scumbag.
Mock the children again. Do it again. Do it again.
18 years old, like that.
Yeah. So I want to, just so everybody.
So
this guy, real scumbag right here.
Mock them again.
Scumbag.
Mock the children again. Do it again. Do it again.
18 years old, like.
So he had said that before, and the guy did not get him recorded. So he sees him walking, and he says, "Hey, do it again. Let me hear you mock the children again." And so this fool, he does it again. And someone just see that one more time. And he does it again. He obliges, and he just openly mocks, is making fun of murdered babies and children. And he's a black man. And, it's just so disgusting. And I'm a competitive athlete in various sports. I've had a lot of success, including in boxing and martial arts. So I'm not a violent person. I pride myself on the level of patience I've been able to develop, even though I've been faced with many opportunities to use violence and hurt people who really deserve to receive pain and punishment for their actions. But I don't know if I would be able to resist my urge to hurt this piece of shit here, pardon my language, and if I would resort to physical violence or using vulgar language to insult him about his sexual preference, because he's obviously some kind of alternative gender or homosexual or something. But I would call him that. I would call him a word that begins with an F. You don't hear anymore because it's politically incorrect or whatever. But he's he really sickens me, and you know what I'm talking about. That word that begins with an F. This MF piece of crap here has me, fuming. And thinking about, I'd be thinking about losing my cool, blowing my stack. I'm talking about nuclear fusion level anger. And I hate feeling this way. And it's such a shame that it's actually a black man, and he has such a cavalier, joyful attitude about genocide and murder of children. And the way that, he so gleefully and is just bold and giddy and gleeful, pleased with himself as he knowingly, intentionally mocks the murdering of babies and little children.
She's pro-LGBTQ. She doesn't want to hear the dead names of women and children.
Say it again.
And this guy, real scumbag right here.
Mock them again.
Scumbag.
Mock the children again. Do it again. Do it again.
18 years old, like that.
Yeah. So I want to, just.
He's so happy and giddy and gleeful. Look at him.
Mock them again.
Scumbag.
Mock the children again. Do it again. Do it again.
18 years old, like that.
He's just, and look at him with his, if anyone knows him, please, run up on him and for me, he's there with his boyfriend, and he's got his cute little outfit on, and he's just so thrilled and happy.
Mock the children again. Do it again.
He's so thrilled and happy.
18 years old.
He's so thrilled and happy to be attending the
Mock them again.
Scumbag.
Mock the children again. Do it again. Do it again.
18 years old, like that.
Yeah, so I want to, just so everybody understands what that is. This guy here, because some of the protesters are chanting 13 years old, meaning a 13-year-old child was killed. Yeah. And here he is walking out, and he apparently did that impression off camera. So then the guy turned the camera on and said, hey, do you want to do that again? And I'm surprised he did, but he did.
Yeah, he did. And he's a scumbag. And I just want everyone to know, evil, hypocrisy, bullying comes in many forms and shapes.
Yeah, these guys here...
meaning a 13-year-old child was killed. Yeah. And here he is walking out, and he apparently...
These guys here, they do good work. That's the guy
real
from,
scumbag right there.
The guy from that's Kit from Hardlands Media, and I forget that guy's name. They have a show called Do Dis. Oh yeah, this is the Do Dissidence channel. But anyway, yeah. Let me just look at
she doesn't want to hear the dead names of women and children.
Say it again.
And this guy, real scumbag right there.
Mock them again.
So he's just sickening, and so yeah, he's just very giddy and happy about attending the Democratic National Convention, and the genocidal massacre being participated in and led by the Democrats. I really hope that this piece of crap here receives what is coming to him in a karma sense of what comes around goes around, what goes around comes around, especially now at this time when you have transgender and homosexuals being loud in their actions and behaviors to ruin women's sports, use women's bathrooms, and expect all of society to learn all of your sick, weird pronouns, and you want sympathy. You want people to show you mercy, to give you sympathy and sympathize with you, so you can enjoy your sick, twisted, freaky way of life. But children being murdered, you mock children being murdered, and you expect sympathy for your cause. And gleefully, you do so. A black man gleefully mocks the murder of brown babies, brown people, indigenous Palestinians during a genocide being committed by a white supremacist, United States and Israel. So I'll just look at him one more time just to discuss myself.
There you go. So she's pro-LGBTQ. She doesn't want to hear the dead names of women and children.
Say it again.
And this guy, real scumbag right there.
Mock them again.
Scumbag.
Mock the children again. Do it again. Do it again.
18 years old, like that.
Yeah, so I want to, just so everybody understands what that is. This guy here, because some of the protesters are chanting 13 years old, meaning a 13-year-old child was killed. Yeah. And here he is walking out, and he apparently did that impression off camera.
So yeah, excuse me. Mocking the murder of children is so bizarre. Things have really reached a level that I didn't see this coming, at all. It's like things are really regressing. Humanity is being forced to move backwards in time. These people, the United States, Israel, ignoring international law, ignoring the findings of the International Court and the International Court of Justice.
One story that
if you no longer have international law
a destruction of a British ship in the Red Sea.
If you no longer have international law being respected and obeyed by countries, then, what do you have?
fighters, also known as Houthi.
If you think about it, all the time and the years, all the wars, all the previous empires, and the United Nations is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but at least you have a body of laws and that has been created, international law and the Geneva Convention, and you have the United Nations, you have the International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice. But if Israel and the United States are ignoring these things, then and what do you have? You'll just have a world again, regressing back to might makes right and brute force. Whoever has the most brute force controls, and there's no more diplomacy. The U.S. and Israel, they don't utilize diplomacy any longer. And so here you have Anthony Blinken, and what I like to say about Anthony Blinken is here's your here's your friendly neighborhood pedophile. Look at this guy. This guy, if he's not a serial killer, he's your friendly neighborhood pedophile. And not all sociopaths become serial killers. Some of them go on to work at the Pentagon or the State Department, and they keep their hands clean, but murder on a scale they could never have imagined, they could never dream of. If they were simply a lone serial killer, a one-man show, but he's definitely a cold, emotionless, murderer with blood on his hands. And he doesn't, he has no emotion whatsoever, no feeling for decapitated babies, burned babies, children being having limbs amputated with no anesthesia, young children that are left, young survivors, 10, 11, 12 years old, 13 years old, let's say, and the rest of their family has all been murdered. So now they have no family. So now they're just alone in the world now, suffering through a genocide, and they've witnessed their entire family be murdered. And here you have this sociopath.
You're right, a number of actions being taken by the Houthis, by other Iranian proxies in Iraq, in Syria, that threaten stability and threaten the potential for conflict. And we're determined, again, that we not see escalation, that we don't have the conflict spread, and we've made that very clear. But of course, if our personnel, if our forces are threatened or attacked, we'll take appropriate steps. We'll respond. We'll protect them. We've demonstrated that in the recent past, and we will again if we have to. We talked already about the threat that the Houthis are posing. That's a threat not to us, just to us, or to Israel. It's a threat to the entire international community because they've been attacking shipping through the Red Sea.
Okay, here you hear him claiming that the Houthis, the people from Yemen, are attacking ships in the Red Sea. So what he's doing here is, the United States, they're shaking in their boots. Okay, they're incapable of defeating some Yemeni men in sandals, with small boats, facing up against the huge warships of the U.S. empire, the big menacing $1 trillion a year U.S. military budget empire, and they're getting their asses kicked in the Red Sea by, sandal wearing Yemenis, Houthis, but these are people from Yemen, and so here he is, name calling and making false accusations. So the people in Yemen, the Houthis, they're shutting down the Red Sea, preventing ships only leaving from and going to Israel. That's all. Those are the only ships that they're messing with. And it's in order to hopefully force the United States and Israel to end its genocide against the Palestinians, the people in Gaza. The people in Yemen, they have already suffered their own imperial attack against them. The United States supplies weapons and intelligence to Saudi Arabia, who was conducting a genocidal campaign attempting to wipe out the Houthis in Yemen. So big, rich Saudi Arabia using their United States connections and getting weapons and intelligence to murder their neighbors, the people in Yemen. And so these people are just incredible heroes for the world. You have other countries, like Turkey, and I mean, the whole world is on the side, well, other than the United States and a couple of countries in Europe, the whole world is on the side of the Palestinians, but they're not standing up and actually doing actions to help the Palestinians the way that the Houthis from Yemen are. So this is why they're doing this attacking of the ships in the Red Sea that he's worried about. He's just worried for Wall Street. He's just worried that if they're slowing down shipping, he's just thinking about it in terms of the money and the way that it's going to affect Wall Street.
We'll protect them. We've demonstrated.
And on the corporate news media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they're never going to tell you the truth. They're not going to explain to you what I just explained to you. Why the Yemenis, the Houthis, as they call them, are attacking and stopping shipping in the Red Sea. They're doing it on behalf of the Palestinians. They're standing up and saying, stop this genocide. And they're, like I said, all these other countries that are in support of the Palestinians and against Israel, but they're not stepping up in actions the way that the Yemenis are. The people from Yemen, it's just brilliant, brave heroes in little boats with small weapons, stopping shipping in the Red Sea. They're being threatened and attacked by big, gigantic warships of the United States, but they don't care. They're right. They're on the right. They know
again if we have to.
They know that they're on the right side of history. They know that they are righteous people on the right side of history. So this is what's motivating them. And this is an evil, corrupt maniac here. A bloodthirsty sociopath, Zionist Jew.
The threat that the Houthis are posing, that's a threat not to us, just to us or to Israel. It's a threat to the entire international community because they've been attacking shipping through the Red Sea that's vital to providing, it provides about 15% of global commerce every day. These attacks have had very, very negative effects for countries around the world in terms of
These attacks have had very negative consequences. Yeah, these attacks, and what they're doing is they're hurting the bottom line of the United States. They're hurting them. They're attacking them where it hurts in the pocketbook, and they know that. So that's why they're attacking ships, only ships that are going to Israel or leaving from Israel. And so this guy, like I said, here's your friendly neighborhood pedophile, and he's definitely not a normal human being. He's not a good person. He's not even a normal human being. And why is he there in this position that he's in? Why is he at the top of the government as the Secretary of State? It's exactly because he's not a normal human being that he's there. He's a bad person who comes up with evil plans and schemes. He's the type of an evil person that the empire likes. And that's why he's in that position, because he's helpful to the empire.
To us, just to us, or to Israel, it's a threat to the entire international community because they've been attacking shipping through the Red Sea. That's vital to providing. It provides about 15% of global commerce every day. These attacks have had very, very negative effects for countries around the world in terms of forcing ships to route around the Red Sea, take longer routes, more expensive, more time. Insurance rates goes up. Prices for food, for medicine,
insurance goes up.
Whatever's being shipped are going up. And more broadly, it's a threat to the principle of freedom of navigation that every country has a stake in. That's why more than 40 countries.
Such hypocrisy.
Condemning
Such hypocrisy. You can see it in his eyes. Look at him. There's a sociopath, those cold, dead eyes. Look at those cold, dead eyes, like a shark's eyes. It's just so obvious. And that's why he's there. Excuse me. And so you see here, Israeli settler violence. So, you know, the Palestinians, not only do they have the Israeli military attacking them, but there's also these quote unquote settlers, and these settlers are Israeli citizens who have been armed with high-powered rifles and weapons and are used by the government in order to harass and terrorize Palestinians. And so you have these illegal settlements that, you know, the United Nations in 1947 and then in 1967, you know, produced the official map and territory for the state of Israel. And so, of course, but, you know, the state of Israel has been expanding outside of those boundaries and creating illegal settlements, you know, constructing and building big condominium complexes and apartment complexes in areas that are factually and easily verifiably not territory that was given to the state of Israel and then by the United Nations. So, you know, so the people who live there, they're settlers and they've been armed by the state of Israel. And so they're used.
Will there ever be an end to illegal Israeli settlement?
As I said, to do terrorism. So watch, look, just, you know, destruction of buildings, stealing people's houses, intimidating with violence. This is what they do. So let's hear a few words from a Palestinian gentleman here who's going to explain.
Co-founder of Code Pink
And
and from
Medea
Occupied
Benjamin, she does good
Director
work.
of the Israeli Committee
Code
Against
Pink.
House Demolitions, Jeff Halper. Thanks all so much for being with me. You know, we saw some excerpts from the film there, and among so many truly shocking moments, we saw so many scenes really of even children being terrorized. You know, Issa, you've long been witness to all
sorry,
of this.
one
This has
second.
been your experience. So how bad has it gotten from your perspective? And how much worse can it actually get?
Unfortunately, the situation in the ground is getting much worse by time. The Israeli settler, not violence, terror, is growing. They are supported now by the Israeli government. They have ministers supporting them, covering their crimes. They get money from many pro-Israel groups from outside. The international media is not highlighting their terror. Inside Israel, parliament members in the Israeli Knesset, they support them. They even lead them to attack Palestinian towns, Palestinian villages, and Palestinian people. The Israeli media encourages them, and the Israeli government is funding them. So they are creating now a kind of militia, and they are copying of the Haganas and the Hirguns who were functioning in the 30s and early 40s. In the last 10 months, around 150,000 rifles were given to those settlers from their hero, Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is now the Israeli National Security Minister, and he gives order now to the Israeli police not to go after them. They were not going after them, but now they know that they have impunity, they have support, and they are growing, and their mentality and ideology is growing among even more settlers. They were, centered, in certain areas, but now it's much, much, much more. And really, I'm afraid of the future.
Yeah.
And we are the Palestinians. We are suffering from daily attacks, daily violence, and daily, restrictions on us because of the presence.
And as we said, this is all
settlers.
being overshadowed by the atrocities, really, in Gaza. And you mentioned we saw the Hilltop Youth in the film. That was the most prominent feature. And Zvi Sukkot is also a member of parliament. He's a Hilltop Youth member. I need to ask Jeff, I mean, how typical are the Hilltop Youth of actual Israeli settlers? Have their numbers as well, or at least their supporters, also been growing since October 7th?
Yeah, there's two kinds of settlers. One is the massive numbers of settlers that are in the West Bank that aren't political. They live in big cities. They have a political purpose. The cities, control key spots of the West Bank and allow the systematic expansion of the Israeli apartheid regime, but they themselves are not involved. They're normal people and living in cities like Ma'ale Adumim, the Beitar Illit, Ariel, and so on. The Hilltop Youth are in the more rural areas. They're sort of the spearhead or the cutting edge of this violent, what Issa says, terror campaign to ethnically cleanse the rest of the West Bank. So they're the ones that are really pushing the borders. And I just want to expand in terms of what Issa said. It's not only a terror campaign, it's a campaign. It's a political campaign that isn't just random. The idea of settler violence sounds random. These crazy kids go out and attack Palestinian towns. But this is, as Issa says, it's orchestrated by the Israeli government, and it's very systematic, and it has strategic ends. And the strategic ends are to complete the ethnic cleansing of the West Bank, that was begun a long time ago. The other person that Issa didn't mention, besides...
And that's what they want. This is an extermination because it's come out of the mouths of the Israeli officials themselves. Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Gallant, the defense minister, calling the indigenous people, the indigenous Palestinians. They've been called human animals by the Israeli officials, and the Israeli officials stated that they were going to cut off the supply of food, water, and electricity to the Palestinians. These are all war crimes. So only Israel gets to commit war crimes, murder babies, destroy schools, destroy hospitals, destroy mosques, decapitated babies, like I said, shoot children in the kneecaps, children suffering amputations with no anesthesia. Now the diseases are going to kill many more people. So it's already like 200,000 people dead, and the diseases and the starvation that is approaching is just going to kill, hundreds of thousands more. And so, the trademark of the Democrats is the DEI, woke, psychological operation. And so what they do is they use transgender people, gay people, black people, brown people, Indian people, homosexuals, women, anyone that's not a straight white male is used to deliver the empire's propaganda. And so this is a example of it right here.
Means it's still out in the middle of the Indian Ocean, though, correct?
I don't have exact location. I wouldn't be able to give you the exact location of where she is, but she's in the Central Command AOR, and she will remain there.
I understand that, but she's still quite a ways from.
For more on her movements, I'd refer you to CENTCOM. I don't have her exact location, but she is in the AOR. I'll just leave it at that.
And then secondly, the Greek ship that caught fire, that was attacked. And caught fire. The fire, I think, is out at this point, but do you know, is the U.S. going to try to do anything either through coordination or do something itself? Because it's still loaded with fuel.
So what, just for awareness, what you're referring to is the Houthis launched an attack on a vessel that was carrying approximately 1 million barrels of crude oil. I'm not. I know that the ship did catch.
So here you have, your brown Indian lady here. Maybe she's gay, maybe not. It doesn't matter. She's a brown person, in her fancy white outfit, like she's pure and good. I guess that's a little scam they're trying to pull off here. Sometimes you'll see that, like, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, AOC, you'll see them wearing their pure good girl outfits, and the white, because they don't lie. They're pure and good.
Fire. I don't know the status. What I would say is that once again, the Houthis have attacked.
And here we go, like I was discussing before, falsely claiming that the Houthis are attacking. They're just gonna, disparage and demonize and insult the men in Yemen who are standing up and fighting for the rights of people that are not even Yemeni. They're putting their lives on the line, battling against the United States military, against the United States Navy and their giant aircraft carriers and warships, and they're being defeated by Yemeni heroes wearing sandals and riding in small boats with small arms, and they're defeating the U.S. empire for the Palestinians.
A ship that is carrying oil and that could likely spill into the Red Sea, creating an environmental disaster. Also brings.
She doesn't care about any environmental disaster. See how she said that? This is just propaganda. They're only worried about money. They're only worried about the money for the wealthy. They're only worried about the bottom line. They're only worried about U.S. Wall Street firms and banks and billionaires' money and the oil. That's all they're interested in. That's all it's ever been. And she's claiming that, they're going to cause some kind of an environmental disaster. They're just worried about money and oil and controlling resources.
And that could likely spill into the Red Sea, creating an environmental disaster. Also brings to question, what exactly does this accomplish, seeing as how they said that they were launching these attacks to help the people of Gaza. Not exactly sure how that helps anyone.
That's a lie. You see what she just did?
What exactly does this accomplish, seeing as how they said that they were launching these attacks?
See how evil this
also brings
I'm trying to keep my
question,
language,
what
I'm
exactly
trying to
does
be,
this accomplish?
maintain professional here, like a political analyst, so it is what it is. I'm doing this show. I want to call her some names, like I said, I'm not a violent person, but I'm just when I think about these things, I think about it. If you still had like in in France, where they used to use the guillotine and public hangings, if you still had people that are caught, being corrupt officials, uh, embezzling and, betraying the trust of the people, if you still had the threat of being hanged by the neck until dead in front of the public hangings, if you still had that hanging over your head, would you really be conducting yourself this way, stating these blatant lies? And if you, at least if you had the threat of going to prison as you should for war crimes, these people wouldn't be getting away with the stuff that they're getting away with, right? And please leave me some comments. Anyone who's watching, leave a comment. Tell me your opinion. But she's acting like here she's going to act. This is just pathetic. She's acting like, whoa, what are they accomplishing by attacking and preventing ships from shipping in the Red Sea? Like I said, these are only ships that are going to or from Israel, and they're doing it for the Palestinians. They're standing up to say, stop this genocide, and they're doing it in a way that has real consequences. If you don't stop, then your shipping in the Red Sea will be no more. And so she's acting like what are they going to accomplish? They said that they wanted to help the people in Gaza, but how does this do it? She knows exactly that what I'm saying is the facts and what I'm saying is true. She knows she's lying to your face, but she's a brown Indian woman. So she's not a straight white male. So you can believe her, you can trust her. She's morally superior, like transgender people and gay people. They're somehow morally superior, and they don't lie and deceive the way that straight white males do.
Seeing as how they said that they were launching these attacks to help the people of Gaza. Not exactly sure how that helps anyone in Gaza.
Liar.
To question, what exactly does this accomplish, seeing as how
what exactly does this accomplish, seeing as how they said they wanted to help the people in Gaza? This is exactly why they're doing it, and it is being very effective. That's the reason you're there, giving these lies. That's the reason you're having this press conference, is because you're worried and you're losing money. So their methods are effective, and they're doing exactly what they said that they're going to do, and they're not going to stop until you end the genocide against the Palestinians. And she knows all of this. She's just a liar, a professional liar in her fancy, expensive white suit.
To question, what exactly does this accomplish, seeing as how they said that they were launching these attacks to help the people of Gaza. Not exactly sure how that helps anyone in Gaza. And this was a Greek flagged ship that had a crew of Russian and Filipino sailors. So not exactly sure their intention. In terms of U.S. response, that through Operation Prosperity Guardian, we have ships in the...
And so I'm showing you now how these disgusting, black, brown, gay, non-straight white male people are just lying right to your face. This is a psychological operation. This DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's all just a scam, and this woke, crap. And so here's another example to show you. Here's a black man, the corrupt, lying piece of crap, Lloyd Austin, the from the board of directors of Raytheon to the director of the Department of Defense, right? So it's the military-industrial complex. It's the revolving door where these corrupt people go from private industry to the government. It could be as far as, in the FDA regulating big pharma, and it could be with the military-industrial complex. People who know the system, they're valuable. People who used to work in government, they're valuable to the corporations because they know the laws, they have connections inside the government. So there should be regulations preventing people from using the revolving door and going from the government to private industry. People like this piece of crap here.
The United States says it has no evidence that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza as it carries out its war against the Palestinian Islamist group, Hamas. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made a statement at a Senate hearing. When asked about the genocide allegation, he told the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I quote, "We don't have evidence of that." On the same day, Berlin is also facing heat. Germany is strongly rejecting a case brought by Nicaragua at the United Nations top court. Nicaragua has accused it of breaching the Geneva Convention and international humanitarian law by providing arms and other support to Israel in its deadly assault on Gaza.
And it's all easily verifiable. This is just ridiculous. It's just an insult to your intelligence. They just have nothing but contempt. They have nothing but contempt and loathing for citizens. They feel like they're superior people. And so they're just insulting your intelligence, and they just tell you these lies. And I'm just showing you, more examples to back up my argument here. So I showed you the that Indian lady, and there's black Lloyd Austin. He's nothing but a representative of the military-industrial complex. And he's a representative for the military-industrial complex. And that's why he's there in that job as the director of the Department of Defense. But he's from the board of Raytheon, one of the companies that manufactures the weapons that are sold around the world. And so now I'm going to give you another example here, and I'll be closing soon. This is not going to be too long, and I'll be back on what's today? I missed, for anyone who's been following, I missed Thursday. No, I missed Sunday. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this today. Normally I'm doing Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So yeah, so from the brown Indian lady in the State Department, and you have black Lloyd Austin, the Department of Defense. And here you have another example in the another example from the State Department. But it's all the same, woke playbook. Use all of the brown people,
we're
gay
expecting
people, trans people,
something from the International Court of
females,
Justice tomorrow. This is your
anyone
last
that's not a
briefing,
straight
I
white male.
presume, before then. I wonder, could you tell us whether, the US has obviously said the South African case against Israel is meritless, but you also said, in your statements related to the case that the ICJ is an important judicial organ, plays a vital role in peaceful settlement of disputes. So, ahead of this ruling, is there anything you would say regarding, if provisional measures are sort of advised by the court, should parties abide by them?
I would not opine on anything like that, given that this is a legal process, and I'm not going to hypothesize or speculate on any kind of outcome. What I will just say again, and we spoke to this when the arguments are ongoing, is that the allegations that Israel is committing genocide we believe to be unfounded, but simultaneously
Unfounded, just like Lloyd Austin, right? Just like Black Lloyd Austin at the Department of Defense. He said that there was no legitimate claims of genocide, and there's there's so much evidence. It's just like please watch my last show where I discuss news speak and double speak from the book 1984, and I gave you an example of how Obama used it. It's a psychological operation. They don't want you to believe your own eyes and your own mind and your own interpretation of the facts that you see. I mean, it's so easy to verify. All you have to do is look up the definition of the word genocide. Intentionally killing people of a certain ethnic group, or forcing their displacement from an area. It's a textbook definition of genocide. Not only that, it's more than genocide, it's extermination. Not only from the actions that you see, but from their own mouths, the words of the Israeli officials calling Palestinians animals, saying that you're going to cut off their food, water, and electricity, killing them with starvation, disease. These are all intentional. It's already been concluded by the International Criminal Court. And you have all the countries in the United Nations saying that they are not in favor of the genocide that Israel is committing. But the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, they're not able to act because the United States has the veto power. That's why the United Nations is kind of a fraud, because it's controlled by the United States, because the United States gives it a lot of money for its funding, and the United States has the power to veto. So you can have 13 countries come together and say, we want to stop the genocide that Israel is committing against the Palestinians. But the United Nations Security Council is helpless. It can't enforce what it wants solely because the United States can veto it, just like that. The United States says, no, you can't do that. We say no, we veto it. So he's doing the same thing here that the Black unintelligent.
What I will just say again, and we spoke to this when the
Black, unintelligent, non-charismatic, corrupt, lying piece of crap Lloyd Austin He said that there's no evidence of genocide. And this one here, this brown Indian guy, probably gay, but at least he's a brown Indian. And so there's no racism happening here for the YouTube censors. Just remember, these are facts. I'm a biracial person from a diverse background. Black Christian father, white Jewish mother. So I'm not a racist. These are facts. Everything I've said is an easily provable fact.
Arguments are ongoing is that the allegations that Israel is committing genocide we believe to be unfounded on any kind of outcome. What I will just say again, and we spoke to this when the arguments are ongoing, is that the allegations that Israel is committing genocide we believe to be unfounded, but simultaneously we will continue to make clear with our partners.
Unfounded. He reminds me of like an Indian Porky
Israel
Pig.
is committing genocide we believe to be unfounded. Is that the allegations that Israel is committing genocide we believe to be unfounded on any kind of outcome.
There's so much evidence, it's just ridiculous. So he just stands there looking like a fool. He's on the wrong side of history.
Is that the allegations that Israel is committing
Defending a genocide.
we believe to be unfounded, but simultaneously we will continue to make clear with our partners in Israel that they not only need to comply with international humanitarian law as it conducts this operation against Hamas, but they also have a moral and strategic imperative to take feasible steps, additional steps to prevent arguments are ongoing. Is that the
This is just such nonsense. So, on one hand, he's saying that the allegations are unfounded, which means that he's saying that they're not happening. But on the other hand, he's claiming that Israel has some type of a moral obligation to conduct itself a certain way. We have international law, okay? All you have to do is follow international law, and if countries violate international law, then they have to be punished for that. But because the United States wants this genocide to happen, the United States is making this genocide happen. Israel and the United States are partners, they're co-conspirators in this genocide because they want the oil and the gas in the area, in the land of Palestine, and they want to make a new canal for transporting oil and gas, right? So, they're just trying to carve up and create a situation in the Middle East that's the most profitable for them. And so they want to create a new canal, and so they will be able to avoid the Houthis closing off their shipping routes and things like that. So this is about money. This is about oil. It's about gas. It's about colonialism, white supremacy. And so you like I said, you have the woke DEI using the brown, the black, the gays to be the face and the voice of the empire, because you're going to believe what comes from their mouth instead of, you're not going to believe what comes out of a straight white male mouth. So you're going to believe what comes out of the mouth of a piece of crap like this guy.
Allegations that Israel is committing genocide we believe to be unfounded, but simultaneously we will continue to make clear with our partners in Israel that they not only need to comply with international humanitarian law as it conducts this operation against Hamas, but they also have a...
They're not. They have no morals, and they're not complying with international law. So what? And they've got no consequences for not complying with international law. Joe Biden can just pick up the phone and say, hey, stop now, or you get no more money, no more weapons. He knows that. He knows that the United States is doing this. He knows that at any moment Joe Biden could end this with a simple phone call. He knows everything. But he's a paid professional liar. So I'm going to close. We're going to begin to close here with one final example. And the United States, they use, as I've been talking about the woke thing, they use the black and the brown people to be the face of the empire in the Department of Defense, State Department, and now here in the United Nations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Also here in the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, you're going to see in a moment. But first, I just want to play you a little bit of Russia speaking up on behalf of the Palestinians against this genocide being committed by the United States and Israel.
We would like to thank the Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Mr. Tor Beneslant. We thank him for the comprehensive overview of the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, including the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. We are also grateful to Dr. Louisa Baxter for an emotional and a sobering description of the situation in the Strip. It is painful, but we have to acknowledge that the Security Council, as the main UN body tasked with maintaining international peace and security, for more than 10 months now has basically remained a passive observer of the continued bloodbath in Gaza, which took by now more than 40,000 innocent civilian lives. As was stated by the UN Secretary General Guterres, the level of killings and destruction in the course of the Israeli operations is the highest one compared to any other conflict anywhere in the world during his mandate. And what is happening in Gaza is, and I quote, utter lawlessness. We are deeply disappointed by the fact that the Council has not been able to demand an unequivocal ceasefire and ensure that there is compliance with this demand by all parties to the conflict. 2.5 months ago, Security Council members adopted Resolution 2735, drafted by Washington. And at the time, our American colleagues told us that the fate of the deal between Hamas and Israel on ceasefire and hostages release hinged upon that resolution. And the time has now come to take stock of how the document impacted the situation on the ground. And we can answer the question unequivocally. It didn't impact the situation on the ground at all. Israel and their agreement with the so-called President Biden plan providing for an immediate ceasefire, their agreement is something that our American colleagues at the time told us about. But Israel is continuing its brutal operation, only pausing when they need to. Over 2.5 months, almost 3,000 Palestinians fell victim to it. And of course, the full withdrawal of the Israeli army from Gaza and efforts to restore the destroyed infrastructure is not something that anyone is even considering. At the same time, Israel is essentially blocking the humanitarian workers' work, creating all kinds of obstacles to them. And similarly, other resolutions passed by the Council, humanitarian resolutions that we have passed since the current escalation of the conflict, remain words on paper. We continue thinking it's unacceptable that members of the Security Council in June signed off on obviously false statement in the American resolution where it said that Israel supposedly had already agreed to the proposed deal. Even the official statements by Israel at the very same meeting clearly show that the leadership of West Jerusalem had no intention of stopping their military operation in Gaza. The delegation of the Russian Federation at the time abstained on voting on the American draft, and we do not regret that abstention one bit. It is noteworthy that, having forgotten what they stated in June, our American colleagues are trying to sell us yet another new quantity, having modified the parameters of the original deal in a way that is suited for Israel. And today, the representative of the United States in this room, not even having tried to explain what these modifications are, is once again calling upon members of the Security Council to exert pressure on Hamas. According to the information we have, Israel is now insisting on keeping the idea of military presence in Gaza, including their control over the crossing with Egypt and the Philadelphia corridor. We do note that such a changes to the parameters of the deal is also something that some countries in the region vehemently object to. And I would like to put a question to our American colleagues. On whose behalf are you acting now when you're trying to push through that deal, which is principally different from the original one? The Security Council never blessed the deal formulated in this way. And why, when you call upon all of us to exert pressure exclusively on Hamas leadership to make sure that the movement accepts the new Israeli whim, you consistently refuse to work with Western Jerusalem, which critically depends on you for weapons supplies? Is this something that well-intentioned and impartial mediators do? Time has shown that all the doubts that we had about the true reason behind that American product were confirmed. And yet another resolution by the Security Council, which was pushed through by Washington, became not just a diplomatic cover for Israel to continue with their systematic cleanser of Gaza, but it also became a spoiler. Because of this, the Security Council no longer undertakes efforts to have a document which would be in line with the strict and unequivocal demands to parties to cease fire. Moreover, because of the provocative acts by Israel over the past 2 months, the Middle East region has come even closer to the brink of a global conflict, and the Security Council, through the United States' efforts, is not doing anything to stop the bloodbath that Israel is continuing in Gaza. A week ago, members of the Security Council were discussing the tragedy in the Tabin school. There, as a result of an Israeli strike, more than 100 people died and dozens were wounded. As we warned at the time, this incident was not an unfortunate episode. It was rather a manifestation of a conscious policy by the Israeli leadership. On the 20th of August, the Israeli Air Force attacked a school in the Mustafa Hafez region in Gaza City. At least 12 people died as a result.
So he's laying out facts. You know, China, Russia, Iran, all the countries of the world, you know, other than the United States, England, and even England came out with a statement about what he's talking about here. They came out with some statements indicating how disgusting it is that Israel murders, you know, 100 innocent people in a school while they're at prayer. So, I mean, every country is against this except for the United States and Israel, pretty much. But, you know, because of threats by the United States, some countries are intimidated to come out and fully support the Palestinians like they would if it wasn't for, you know, them being cowardly and worried about retaliation against them by the United States. But China, Russia, they're on the right side of history. They're backing. They're against what the United States is doing with this genocide in Palestine, and they're also against pretty much what all the countries in the world know, that it's the United States that is using Ukraine to do this proxy war against Russia. So it's the United States that is intentionally sacrificing all these hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians to die in this special military operation Vladimir Putin was forced to do.
Prime Minister Netanyahu, in reaction to the joint appeals by the international community to stop the killing of peaceful Palestinians, states that he will not stop until Hamas is fully destroyed. And if it weren't for his American allies, he would not display such a disregard for the position of the overwhelming opinion of the UN member states. Separate point I would like to make, and it's a point that is unacceptable to have the provocative acts by the leadership of Israel at the OPT, and I refer specifically to the 13th of August visit by the Minister of National Security Ben-Gvir to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The Israeli authorities should undertake effective measures to stop this fallacious practice, which is a blatant violation of the status quo of the old city holy site.
Yeah, and that's just more provocation. You know, Ben-Gvir took his racist gang of Israelis, and they went to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, knowing that it's a violation of former agreements, and they're not supposed to be doing that, but they're doing it as provocation and humiliation of the Palestinians.
How much longer are we going to remain idle when American would-be negotiators continue putting on a show and feed us empty promises of speedy results of their diplomatic efforts on the ground? The reality is that Washington for 10 months now has basically kept the entire council hostage, threatening their veto and not allowing us to pass a strict and unequivocal decisions neither on the Palestinian issue, nor on the ceasefire in Gaza, nor on the...
As I was stating before, the United States uses its veto power to prevent the United Nations Security Council from doing what it wants to do.
Moving of the Middle East peace process forward. And this is all the more lamentable because it is the maniacal desire of the United States to monopolize the Middle East peace process and to reformat it according to Israeli patterns that it led to the dramatic consequences that we're witnessing today. I don't think I need to say to you that this situation undermines the authority of the Security Council. The Security Council since October has not been able to pass any effective decisions which are needed not only for the just settlement of the Palestinian issue in line with our very own resolutions, but also to prevent the regional war in the Middle East. And if Resolution 2735 is not being implemented, well, let's pass a new document which would send an unequivocal signal to the spoilers that what they're doing will not be allowed to happen with impunity, and provide such a resolution with a toolbox which could help end violence regardless of the whims displayed by any of the sides to the conflict. It's of critical importance also to make sure that Washington stops finally their multi-billion military assistance to Israel, which is being used to destroy peaceful Palestinians. How many more victims are needed for the Security Council to finally act in line with its mandate instead of blindly following the U.S. and Israeli lead? 40,000 Palestinians, most of them women and children. Is that not enough for us to pass the...
And you notice he keeps on looking over at the United States representation, which I'm going to show you in a moment, but him and the guy behind him, they do keep on looking over at them.
Happen with impunity.
See, the guy behind him, he's looking over there too. Like, are you listening over there, psycho?
Regardless of the whims displayed by any of the sides to the conflict. It's of critical importance also to make sure that Washington stops finally their multi-billion military assistance to Israel, which is being used to destroy peaceful Palestinians. How many more victims are needed for the Security Council to finally act in line with its mandate instead of blindly following the U.S. and Israeli lead? 40,000 Palestinians, most of them women and children. Is that not enough for us to pass the decisions that are needed? And we are formulating it this way to make sure that all of our colleagues feel their historic responsibility on our shoulders, and we are ready to work with all of those who share this position of ours. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of Russian Federation for their statement. I give the floor to the representative of United States.
Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Coordinator Winsland.
Aunt Jemima and Uncle Tom.
Briefings. Colleagues,
So here's Aunt Jemima and Uncle Tom right there over her shoulder. There he is. And you know what? I don't even know his name. And I don't care. He's Uncle Tom. I don't care. I happen to remember her name. She's Linda Thomas Greenfield. And it's not even worth it for me to do the research to find out what his name is. He's Uncle Tom. So see how they insult your intelligence by parading all these evil black, brown, Indian, lesbians, gays in front of you, and you watch them lie right through their teeth. The empire uses these moralist, soulless, corrupt, greedy liars to be the official propagandists for the empire. These black, brown, homosexuals, women, lesbians are the DEI woke professional liars that are willing to be used to be the face of the empire and you will believe them and you will believe their lies because the lies are coming from the mouth of because the lies are not coming from the mouth of a straight white male. Kamala Harris, Linda Thomas Greenfield, that Pentagon lady, that Indian Pentagon lady, that Indian Pentagon State Department guy you saw, this is what they do. This is why they're in the positions that they're in. Not because of their brilliance or their intelligence or their capability. They're there to be used for these purposes right here. Here's Aunt Jemima and Uncle Tom right over her shoulder. When it's not her doing it, it's him.
Secretary Blinken just concluded his 9th visit to the region since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th and unleashed a war that has caused so much suffering and devastation. The Secretary reaffirmed the United States' ironclad support for Israel's security, but he also aimed to advance discussions on a comprehensive ceasefire and hostage release deal that now is in.
And this is all bullshit. This is Aunt Jemima here. She's giving you a bunch of bullshit. The United States never had any intention of any ceasefire or any two-state solution. Please watch my previous shows. Stuart Seldowitz, I did a show about him. Remember, he was the State Department Israel official who was supposedly working on the two-state solution, but then he eventually ended up getting arrested because he was harassing, because he's a white supremacist, Zionist, Jew, racist, and he was eventually arrested because he was out on the street of New York City doing hate speech and attacking innocent Muslims while they were working at their job, and he's attacking them with hate speech. So please watch my previous videos, and I showed him. So this is all just ridiculous. All the same nonsensical bullshit over and over and over again. That's all this is, just a repeat. Just a repeat.
Coordinator Winsland and Dr. Baxter for your briefings. Colleagues, Secretary Blinken just concluded his 9th visit to the region since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th.
And they just bring up October 7th. Everything is supposed to be about October 7th. Like this started on October 7th, right? This so-called conflict started on October 7th with because Hamas, the Palestinians, they did a military uprising. They did a rebellion. They are occupied people who have been suffering since 1947. This started in 1947, not October 7th of last year. She knows that, but this is a psychological operation. This is propaganda. So they always have to bring it back and say that, oh, what Hamas did was so terrible on October 7th. That was a military operation. They're an occupied people. They have a right to resist. They have a right to fight back against their occupiers. So that's what October 7th was. And in that military operation, that successful military operation that Hamas Palestine did on October 7th was very effective. And they managed to get some hostages that they were going to use those hostages to negotiate to get back their own people that are being held and tortured in Israeli prisons. Please watch my last video. The men are being raped, brutalized, tortured. These are facts. These are facts now. And Israel, they want to make this rape legal. They're not punishing the soldiers for raping the Palestinians. They're saying, no, it's okay. They can do it. They have a right to do it. So they're excusing it. They're making it okay. They're making it legal to do rape and torture.
A war that has caused so much.
And also remember, because of the Hannibal Doctrine I've spoken about before, the majority of the people killed on October 7th were Israelis that were killed by the Israeli military. That's the Hannibal Doctrine. Kill them so that they can't be captured by the Palestinians.
Much suffering and devastation. The Secretary reaffirmed the United States' ironclad support for Israel's security, but he also aimed to advance discussions on a comprehensive ceasefire and hostage release deal that now is in sight.
So that's a lie. They never had any intention of any ceasefire deal. And they're only supporting this genocide because they want this genocide. Right, Uncle Tom? Uncle Tom, right over her shoulder. Look at Uncle Tom.
And to emphasize that no one in the region should take any action that would undermine ongoing negotiations. While the Secretary was in Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu confirmed that Israel accepts the bridging proposal that the United States, Qatar, and Egypt put forward last week.
And that's a fraud. Like I said, they never wanted any ceasefire deal. And it's all a fraud because Netanyahu does not want a ceasefire deal. Please watch my previous shows. Netanyahu is a corrupt politician in Israel. He's up on corruption charges. If it wasn't for this war that's happening, he would be in prison. His wife is also going to go to prison. So all of this is about a selfish, self-serving man who's all about his own life and his own freedom, keeping himself out of prison. All right, this is what this is about. And he's being used by the United States that also wants this genocide. They want the oil, they want the gas, they want to build a new canal.
The proposal is consistent with the principles outlined by President Biden in May 2024, and that this council endorsed.
Biden, remember that Biden has taken over $11 million from AIPAC, the American Israel Political Action Committee. So he's corrupt. And so it's just the same bullshit over and over again, acting like they support a two-state solution. As I spoke about Stuart Seldowitz, that was all a show. They never wanted a two-state solution. It's always been a farce, always blaming Palestinians for not agreeing to a ceasefire when it's always the Israelis, Netanyahu, who changed the terms in order to ruin the ceasefire, or they assassinate, like they assassinated the lead negotiator for Palestine, Ismail Haniyeh. They assassinated him to ruin the ceasefire. Please watch my previous shows. Or so always blaming Palestinians for not agreeing to a ceasefire, when it's always the Israelis, Netanyahu, who changed the terms in order to ruin the ceasefire agreement, or assassinate in order to ruin the ceasefire agreement. And the U.S. always claims they're interested in a ceasefire agreement, and they always claim that they're interested in Palestinians' safety, while they continue to participate in the genocide and continue to fund and provide the weapons for Israel to commit the genocide of the Palestinians. So this disgusting Aunt Jemima is a disgrace to herself and all black people. And why does the empire use not one but two black people to be the face of the evil empire? It's her and Uncle Tom right over her shoulder. And they use them because of the woke DEI psychological operation, that you will be more receptive to believe the propaganda, to believe the U.S. propaganda and bold-faced lies, because they are coming from black people instead of a straight white male. So if they're coming from a black person, a brown person, an Indian, gay person, it's not a straight white male. So you're going to believe it.
In Resolution 2735. And this builds on areas of agreement from talks convened in Doha last week and bridges the remaining gaps in a manner that allows for swift implementation of the deal. We appreciate this Council's support for the efforts the United States, Qatar, and Egypt have made to help get this deal done. We now have a path forward to save lives, bring relief to the people of Gaza, get the hostages back home, and de-escalate regional tensions.
Lie,
Again,
lie,
Israel
lie, lie.
May 2024, and that this Council endorsed in Resolution 2735. And this builds on areas of agreement from talks convened in Doha last week and bridges the remaining gaps in a manner that allows for swift implementation of the deal.
Lie. They don't want to deal.
We appreciate this Council's support for the efforts the United States, Qatar, and Egypt have made to help get this deal done.
Lie. There is no
We
deal,
now
and
have a
the U.S.
path
doesn't
forward
want
to
to
save
deal.
lives, bring relief to the people of Gaza, get the hostages back home, and de-escalate.
Lie. They don't want any relief for the people of Gaza.
In May 2024.
Lie. They don't want any relief for the people of Palestine. Lie. They don't want any hostages. Lie. They don't care about any hostages.
And that this Council endorsed in Resolution 2735. And this builds on areas of agreement from talks convened in Doha last week and bridges the remaining gaps in a manner that allows for swift implementation of the deal. We appreciate this Council's support for the efforts the United States, Qatar, and Egypt have made to help get this deal done. We now have a path forward to save lives, bring relief to the people of Gaza, get the hostages back home, and de-escalate regional tensions.
All lies. They're escalating, constantly escalating, not de-escalating, as she falsely claimed right there.
The United States, Qatar, and Egypt have made to help get this.
You're escalating when you assassinate Fawad Shakur, the leader of the Hezbollah. They assassinated him. You're escalating when you assassinate the lead negotiator for Palestinians, Ismail Haniyeh. You're escalating when you blow up, when you attack the Iranian embassy in Syria, which Israel did with the approval and permission of the United States. That's escalating, not de-escalating. So this is just ridiculous. She's just insulting your intelligence.
And bridges the remaining gaps in a manner that allows for swift implementation of the deal. We appreciate this Council's support for the efforts the United States, Qatar, and Egypt have made to help get this deal done. We now have a path forward to save lives, bring relief to the people of Gaza, get the hostages back home, and de-escalate regional tensions. Again, Israel has accepted the bridging proposal.
Lie.
Now Hamas must do the same. As members of this council, we must speak with one voice, and we must use our leverage to press Hamas to accept the bridging proposal, which includes massive and immediate benefits for the Palestinians in Gaza and incorporates a number of Hamas's earlier demands. Colleagues, this is a decisive moment. It's a decisive moment for ceasefire talks and for the region.
Disgusting liar. They are preventing, like I said, the United States with the veto power have been preventing a ceasefire from the beginning because they don't want a ceasefire. And I'm going to close now. So my zoom in, zoom out segment where I'm going to take a step back now and, close with some perspective. We need a new system to save the world. The United States empire must fall. This current system uses conflict and enemies who are falsely created in order to justify the $1 trillion Pentagon military budget. But by continuing to use propaganda, provoke, escalate, instigate, assassinate, lie, steal, do coups and regime change wars based on lies, using the CIA in order to maintain conflict and geopolitical unrest. Eventually, it's going to lead to nuclear war. This is where we're at right now. This is the problem. The United States provoking and creating a nuclear war. And right now, we're living in a dystopian nightmare. And it's okay to drop huge bombs on innocent, unarmed people. Rape is okay. Torture is okay. Killing children is okay. Murdering babies is okay. And the U.S. government tells you it's all okay. It's necessary. It's worth it, to quote Madeleine Albright. Please watch my last show. Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of State. And she was asked, was it worth it to kill all the 500,000 children that the United States murdered in the Iraq War? It was based on lies. And she said, yeah, it was worth it. Please watch my last show. So it's all okay. It's necessary. It's worth it. The so-called news is anything but the facts. The CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, it's all a troupe of circus freak propagandists that are paid. They are paid exorbitant amounts of money to read scripts that have been created by the evil geniuses at the Pentagon or the CIA. These people, they on the CNN, MSNBC, they wear the finest custom fitted suits with their faces professionally done by a team of the best. A team of the best makeup artists available, the best stylists and makeup artists available, under the finest high-tech lighting and cameras, and you're presented with such wonderful, shiny presentation, so that you're made to think, well, this must be the real news and information. It's all a show, and it's not news. They don't want you to they don't want you to believe your own eyes, your own feelings. You are every day you see innocent every day you see innocent children being butchered and babies being burned alive and decapitated, but you are too ignorant to understand that it's necessary. Just leave it up to the professionals. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Jake Sullivan, Victoria Nuland, and Anthony Blinken. They're more intelligent than you. Just trust them. that it's necessary and worth it because Israel has a right to defend itself. Even though murdering babies and destroying hospitals and schools doesn't seem like it's self-defense to me, trust us, it is. You just don't understand these complicated, complex geopolitical issues. These Democrats are the most evil fascists of all time because these Democrats smile and laugh and claim to be defending women's rights only because of claim to be defending women's rights, but that's only because of abortion. They don't care about women's rights because these Democrats watch women and their babies and children being murdered and blown to bits and burned alive, dismembered, decapitated every day. During the COVID-19 that was created by the United States in a laboratory in China, the Democrats did not defend women's rights to control their bodies. No, the Democrats work for Big Pharma. The Democrats are authoritarian fascists who don't care, who care not about women, who did not care about women or their children's. Okay, so yeah, so during the COVID-19, these Democrats are authoritarian fascists who did not care about women or their children's education and mental health. The Democrats served Big Pharma and defended vaccine mandates and supported lockdowns, which we now know were unnecessary and extremely destructive to the children's education, to people's lives, and the future of those children due to their due to the detrimental suffering and delays in their education that they went through during those lockdowns. So these Democrats, with their fake virtue signaling, or constantly act like they're morally superior because they support transgender people, but that fake bullshit does it help you? No. Where are the policies to help you? Where's the Medicare for all? Where are the policies to help you improve the quality of your life and the future of your children's lives? So yeah, this is the situation that we're in. We're closer to nuclear war than we've ever been. And that's the truth, and that's the facts, that's the reality. Please hit the subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. Please tell your friends and family to tune in and watch my shows. And I'm going to be trying to stick to a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time schedule, and I'm going to start to do live shows. Please send me some comments, and then I'll schedule live shows, and then I hope that I get some people to tune into live shows and we can get a conversation going. Thank you so much, and until next time, peace out.